Straight.
You left the Dodgers what year?
My contract was up in '82, and so Jerry Kapstein, my agent, and I talked in the previous off season about really, talking to the Dodgers, getting it out of the way, because we knew that if we didn't get anything done by the time the season started, it was going to start to build, and it was going to be a distraction. And
right.
And whoever thought I wouldn't be a Dodger, right? But the Dodgers had declined to really talk to Jerry. And he talked just before spring training. They said, well, let's wait a while. Well, every place I went, the writers, have you talked to or have they made you an offer? And I said, no, not really. And so it did build. Finally, we got to June, and both sides agreed that we wouldn't talk anymore, would wait till the season was over, which put a lot of pressure on me. And we realized they were going to use one of the young guys coming up from AAA that they thought were going to be very good players as kind of a bargaining tool. So one thing led to another. On November 15th of 1982, at that time, free agency was in infancy, but if you became a free agent, 5 teams could draft you, so to speak, to negotiate with you. And I remember being in a bank building in LA, first time the Dodgers didn't have Al Campanis do the whole deal. It was a lawyer. And time ran out, and they couldn't re-sign you at that time. It was an odd free agency. And San Francisco Giants, the Cubs, the Yankees, Houston, and the Padres were the teams that could negotiate with me. And of course, the transition ended up with San Diego.
And that was a good choice for you, because to me, you're a West Coast guy.
Yeah. And even though, from Tampa and so forth, by having been out on the West Coast from 70 on and having success, everybody thought I went to SC, or grew up in California. But, that's a matter of time and maturation and so forth. So, and by the time I got to San Diego, you knew Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner had 3 American League guys he really wanted. And he already had Don Mattingly. But Jerry Kapstein said, listen, Garrett, Garvey, you had Steve here. You've got good young ball players, he and Mattingly, and, you're going to start winning. And George says, well, I've got these 3 guys. He said, but I'll bump it up in the press. I'll tell them, I'll put some figures in there in the press that I think are pretty close to what you wanted. So he did that. I wasn't going to play in San Francisco. Candlestick, playing there every night as a hitter is probably takes away 30% of your offense, 40. And Houston wasn't going to play in the Dome. So I get to San Diego, and Ray Kroc says he wants to meet with me, just he and I. So Ballard Smith, who was the president of the club, and Mr. Kroc's son-in-law and Jerry were kind of, waiting somewhere down the street at a restaurant. And we go into Mr. Kroc's office and we sit down, and he goes, he was about 83 then. Stevie, I really want you here. And I said, well, thank you, sir. You always want to be wanted. Yeah, and I know what you can do on the field, but I think off the field you can start to change the culture of this town. And I said, thank you. And then he goes, but I only got one problem, son. And I go, what's that, sir? He says, I can only pay you in Big Macs and French fries. And I looked at him and I said, well, can I have them for a lifetime? He says, yeah. He says, you can have them much as you want. And he said, I'll probably find a few dollars too. He said, but you call Jerry and I'll call Ballard, and I want this deal done by tomorrow. And lo and behold, the next day, the deal was done by 3 p.m. And the offer was for what we thought parity was at the time, with Schmidt and Jackson and guys like that. So, and you were right. San Diego was a perfect fit for me, because still in the National League, still in the National League West. I knew the pitching. It was at that point in my career at 34, it was a good place to decompress in terms of off the field, and it worked well. I mean, my second year there, 84. The team had invested into Goose Gossage and Greg Nettles, and we ended up going to the World Series. So I had this wonderful, great career in LA perpetuating history, and now I go to San Diego, and we really started their history after that 84 year.
All of our Herkimer diamonds, whether they're in their natural form or calibrated form or jewelry or clusters or in the host rock, we're the source. So we sell a lot of product to a variety of people throughout the world.